Hey everybody, how you doing out there? It is Mr. Bookman, and today I'm going to be reading Just in Time for New Year's by Karen Gray Ruelle. Please enjoy. Just in Time for New Year's. Every night, Emily heard snoring. Every morning, she told her brother, Harry, I do not snore, said Harry. Yes, you do, said Emily. You should make a New Year's resolution to stop snoring. I do not snore, said Harry. When is New Year's Eve, anyways, asked Emily. New Year's Eve is in 4 days, said their mother. Can we stay up until midnight this year? Asked Harry. Their mother and father looked at each other. Their father said, I think you are both old enough now. If you could stay awake until midnight, we will all celebrate together. Hooray, said Harry and Emily. We have 3 nights to practice, said Harry. What will we practice? Asked Emily. We will practice staying up late, said Henry. Your snoring will keep us both awake, said Emily. How do you know I snore if you are asleep? Asked Henry. Your snores are very loud. I can hear them in my sleep, said Emily. Emily, Harry, please set the table, said their mother. We can't, said Emily. We are too busy practicing. What are you practicing? Asked their mother. We are practicing staying awake for New Year's Eve, said Henry. I see, said their mother. Please set the table. You can practice later. After dinner, Harry and Emily thought of ways to stay awake. They thought of taking daytime naps. They thought of holding their eyelids open. They thought of opening the windows to let in the cold air. They practiced staying up late. That night they stayed up until 9:30. We have to practice harder, said Henry, or else we will never stay awake until midnight. The next night they practiced harder. They fell asleep at 8:30. This is not working, said Henry. On the third day they took a nap. It was not a long nap. That night they stayed awake until 8. This will have to take more nap. We will have to take more naps, or we will not be able to stay awake until midnight, said Henry. Don't worry, said Emily. I'm sure your snores will wake us up. Noisemakers and party hats. On the big day, Henry and Emily took 2 naps, but they could not sleep. They were too much excited. Instead, they talked about New Year's Eve. What would it be like to stay up until midnight? It would be so dark out. Would the stars look different at midnight? Would the moon be out? After dinner, Henry and Emily's mother said, let's get ready for New Year's Eve. They got noisemakers. They got bubbly drinks made out of juice and seltzer. They got party hats. Let's practice the countdown, said their father. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Happy New Year! They blew their noisemakers. They drank their bubbly drinks. They shouted and they sung. Then their mother said, "That was great." "I can't wait until midnight," said Emily. "Go brush your teeth," said their mother. "Then you will be all ready when..." "Will it be midnight?" asked Emily. "It's only 9. "You still have 3 hours," said Father. Henry and Emily ran upstairs and brushed their teeth. They played a board game. They listened to holiday music. They put them in a holiday mood. "Is it midnight yet?" asked Emily. "It's only 10, said Henry. They opened the windows to let in cold air. They played some more music. "Now what time is it?" asked Emily. "It is 10:15, said Harry. It will never be midnight," said Emily. "What time is it now?" asked Emily. "It's time to hold your eyelids open," said Henry. They sat on the floor and held open their eyeballs. The clock ticked. "Time?" asked Emily. There was no answer. Henry was asleep. Emily closed her eyes. She would stay awake with her eyes closed. The clock ticked. The house was very quiet. Suddenly there was a loud snore. Emily jumped up. She looked at Henry, but Henry was not snoring. He was still fast asleep. If Henry wasn't snoring, then who was? Emily closed her eyes again, but that loud snoring kept waking her up. Then she had a great idea. "Wake up," said Emily. "I have a great idea. If snoring wakes us up, so will another loud noise." She told Henry her idea. He agreed it might work. They ran from room to room, getting everything ready. Is it 11? said Henry. "We have 1 hour until midnight." They spent some time looking out the window. There was no moon, but there was so many stars. "I think the stars are brighter than ever," said Emily. "I've never seen so many stars," said Henry. They started counting stars. They got as far as 76. Then they fell fast asleep. How many of you have fell asleep trying to stay awake to ring in the new year? Leave a thumbs up. Emily woke up to a very loud snore. She opened her eyes and looked over at Henry, but Henry was already awake. He laughed and said, "You were snoring. You woke us both up with your snores. You are the one who snores, not me." Emily was about to say something. Just then they heard a bell ring, and then another bell started to ring, and another. They heard a chirping noise. They heard loud music. They heard loud beeps and whistles. All the alarm clocks were going off. What is all the racket?" said their mother. "What on earth is going on?" said their father. Henry and Emily ran from room to room, turning off all the alarms. Then they came into the living room with party hats and noisemakers and bubbly drinks. "It's nearly midnight," said Henry. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Emily joined in. Their parents joined in. 4, 3, 2. Then they all shouted together, "Happy New Year!" So how many of you try to stay awake to ring in the new year? Again, let me know with a thumbs up. Just curious, how many of you have tried to stay awake to ring in the new year? Well, everybody, I hope all of you enjoyed this story, this New Year's Eve storybook reading. And if you did, smash that thumbs up button, can ya? And if you're new and came along this reading, hit that red subscribe button down below and subscribe to my channel here and check out my other readings I got. I got plenty, so feel free to check them out. Also, please share this video. I would love it if you could do that for me. That way I can gain more subscribers to this channel. But again, everyone, y'all take it easy out there and have a fantastic one. Until next time, they call me Mr. Bookman. And this New Year's Eve storytime reading, or this New Year storytime reading is over. Have a good one, everybody, and take care.